Welcome to the Better Off Bonus Call of the Week. We're sponsored by Betterment, the largest independent online financial advisor. I love taking these calls. I was actually recently down in Washington, D.C., speaking to a group of folks at the Certified Financial Planner Board of Standards, the CFP board. And one of the questions that I got from an audience member was, how do you stay on top of all this stuff when you're covering things like tax reform and breaking news at CBS? And the answer is, I get to talk to real people, and I get to talk to you real people. And if you want to actually ask us a question, we'd love to hear from you because you're making us better at what we do and you're helping everyone else who's listening. Just send us an email. Ask Jill at betteroffpodcast.com. Ask Jill at betteroffpodcast.com. You've got 2 chances to get on the air. We do this special bonus on Tuesdays, and then we frequently put a call at the end of our interviews, which we drop on Thursday, the bigger episode. So give us a holler. We'd love to help you out. Today, we've got Joe from Chicago on the line. Hey, Joe, welcome to Better Off. What can I do for you?
Hey, Jill. Thanks for taking my call. Love the podcast. Listened to almost all of them in the last 3 weeks since I discovered you guys.
Wait a minute. You're a binge listener? I love you.
Yes, and it's actually weird because sometimes I listen at double speed, so your voice is a little slower on the real call, but
really?
As much as I can.
I've been told that I actually speak quickly, so I try to slow it down a tiny bit for people who are not used to New Yorkers who talk too quickly. So first of all, what has been your favorite episode so far? Who's your favorite guest?
I think I was really fascinated. I'm a history guy. I love the episode, and I forget her name when you talked about the 1987 crash.
Diana Henriquez. She's awesome,
yeah.
Right? Fantastic.
So, that was great. And I actually discovered you on the Dave Stoyak podcast that you were a guest on.
That is so nice. I love him. He was so great and very kind of him to have me on. I got to get him on, Mark. We got to put him on our podcast next. All right, Joe, let's get to you. Tell me what's going on and how we can help you out.
So my big question is, I'm thinking about paying off my mortgage, and this is kind of the situation. My in-laws have a second home, and they're probably going to be selling it in about 3 years. And this has been a home that we've gone to, my wife and I, for 10 years, and we've got little kids that have gone to the house, so it has a big emotional attachment to it. Mm-hmm. So my thought is, should I pay off my house in the next 3 years so that I'm ready to buy that house? And, the thing, in order to pay that off, I'd have to stop contributing to my Roth 403B, which I have been contributing to, but I'm still contributing fully to my Roth IRA, and I've got some other, accounts they're pretty sizable right now. Also a teacher, so thinking about retirement, there's going to be a pension for me down the line between, age 55 and 60.
Okay. So let me get a few of the basics in here. So you're married. You got some kids?
Yes, 2 kids, 8 and 5.
Okay. And are both you and your wife working or just you?
I work and she works part-time. So our salary together is probably about $145,000 a year.
Okay. So you said you're putting money into a Roth IRA, but also your Roth 403B, right?
Yes.
And how much are you contributing right now into each of those?
So I max out a Roth IRA for myself, and my wife also maxes out her Roth IRA, so $5,500 a piece. And then we were doing $700 a month in the Roth 403B.
Okay. And when you were doing that, you were feeling okay in terms of you could put money in there, you could pay your mortgage, you could live your life, your bills are covered. You felt good?
Yes,
okay.
Absolutely.
Great. And when you think about this second home, what is the idea here? Is this a second home where, you're just going to hang out? It's a vacation home. Is your plan to buy it with a traditional mortgage?
The plan was that house, my house right now is worth about, $300,000. That house is probably worth about $175,000. So if I paid off my mortgage, we were going to basically refinance the house I have at home to avoid any PMI or anything like that. And yes, use a traditional mortgage, probably a 15-year mortgage at the time.
Okay. But I don't understand why you have to pay off the house to do this. In other words, why would you have to pay the house off now to do it?
Well, I was thinking, so I owe about $110,000 on the house now, and if I just paid that regularly off, maybe that would only be down to $60,000 or $70,000, and then if I was to buy the house, I would have to roll all those things together. So just trying to keep, the monthly costs where it's not an overwhelming issue of, oh my gosh, the mortgage is too big on this second home, essentially.
What's the rate on your current mortgage?
3.5%.
I like that rate. That is a darn good rate. I don't know if this makes sense. I don't know why you'd pay down the mortgage. Just go with me here for a second.
Okay.
So you're going along, you're getting along, things are good. How old are you guys?
We'll be 39 this month.
Okay. And you're putting money away. That's great. How much money do you have in, let's call it your emergency reserve? Not for this potential house purchase, but just like safe money. What do you got?
About $30,000.
Okay, good. Total retirement, about how much in retirement accounts?
About $300,000.
Oh, very good. Excellent. That's great.
And then we have another about $135,000 in the stock market right now. Just to
What? Oh, excuse me. That's like burying the lead. What is that invested in?
Various blue chip stocks: 3M, Johnson & Johnson, John Deere, AT&T, GE.
Okay. You know what I'm going to say, don't you?
I don't know.
Yeah. Okay. Here we go. It strikes me as interesting that you have $135,000 that's sitting in stocks when you're talking about borrowing money and paying money down and having a cheap loan when you actually have the money to almost buy this house outright right now in the stock market. Okay. Now, I know that 135 isn't all yours. You owe capital gains on it. I get it. But what I would be thinking about is this. I think that is really the money you use to buy the second home. It doesn't mean you have to buy it in cash, but if you consider this, I mean, I don't know where interest rates are going, right? I feel like you're silly not to maintain that 3.5% mortgage. It's cheap. Rates are probably only going higher, not lower, unless we have some horrible cataclysmic problem. And I think that you could use the money, even if you just said, I'm going to put 50 grand of my stock portfolio down and finance the rest. Or maybe you're going to put more down. I don't know. But I have to say that I don't see why you wouldn't tap the money that you already have that's set aside and just reallocate it to buying the second home. I think that, for someone in your situation to have individual stocks, it's been great. I don't want to go back. I'm not going to go back and recreate and say like, gosh, you would have been just fine owning the index. Who cares? You got this money. In fact, I'm almost inclined to say, why don't you buy the house right now? And I'm serious. I'm literally thinking this right now. Like, I would start selling off some of the stock a little bit at a time, pay the tax along the way, have the money available. Tell me about the in-laws. Are they in good financial shape or not?
Yeah, no, they're in great financial shape. It's just a matter of them, they're almost 70 years old and making the drive and putting a boat in the water and cutting the grass is kind of, just getting a little bit too much for them.
Well, how about this? How about you give them a down payment on the house right now, and they don't have to sell it to you right now? And how about you don't even get a mortgage? You just end up essentially saying, let them hold the paper, hold the mortgage note for you, and then you don't even have to go through a bank and go through that cost. What do you think of that?
Yeah, that's actually a pretty good idea.
I think that could be, you could do an intra-family loan. It kind of works beautifully. You have to go talk to a lawyer because I would want it papered. Is your wife one of many children?
She has one brother.
All right, so we don't want to shut him out. Is he going to be part of this buying the house or not?
No, it would just be on ours.
All right, so presumably there's a couple of ways to skin this one. And one is that you buy the house now. You say to your in-laws, hey, look, here's a down payment right now. Here's some money. We want to, create this pathway to doing this. And then you can put down some portion of that stock portfolio, maybe half of it or whatever. And then they hold the paper. They hold the mortgage and you'll start making payments to them. Or, by the way, you can buy the house right now and then they can pay you rent for staying in it. So there are a lot of different ways. But I would see a lawyer and definitely say, we want to try to figure out, we're going to buy this home. We want to be able to do an intra-family loan so that, we're not paying the bank interest. We're just paying my in-laws interest. And we want to come up with a good game plan so that they can stay in the house as long as they want, but then it reverts to us. I think there's a great idea here and you need some help doing it, but I think it would make so much sense for both sides.
Okay. Yeah, that does make sense. And then just continue on with the other money that I was going to pay off extra in the Roth 403B?
Yes, and I want you, that's the other piece of this, which is you're doing such a great job. I'd hate for you to divert your attention right now and say, I'm going to pay off a 3.5% note when I'm putting money away and saving like crazy in the Roth IRA and the Roth 403B. So I would absolutely, positively keep funding that and doing the best you can to max it out.
Okay. Sounds good. Thank you for the info.
Go buy a vacation home from your in-laws. Thank you so much for calling, Joe.
Thank you very much.
Okay, that's a wrap of our Better Off bonus question of the week. If you've got a question, it's simple. Send us an email at askjill@betteroffpodcast.com. We'll arrange to get you on. And don't forget, in just a couple of days, there's a brand new episode of the Better Off Podcast sponsored by Betterment. Talk to you then.